guys, welcome back. So today I'm going to be doing the 10 names I'm not going to be naming my baby tag. I saw Brittany from Brittany and Baby do this video I think a couple days ago, and I thought it seemed like a really fun video idea. I think most people that do this are people that are already pregnant and are trying to think of names for their babies. I'm not pregnant, I've already had my babies, and I'm not planning on having any more, but I thought it'd be fun to sort of talk about the names that I do like or that I would name a baby if I were to have another one, which I'm not going to. And these are also names that were kind of on our short list as well for Taylor and Owen. So I'll quickly just give you a background with my kids' names. I'm not sure if I ever sort of talked about why we named them the names that we did. So we found out what we were having with both of our pregnancies. So we knew we were having a girl and you were having a boy. So we did talk about names for both. With Taylor, before we found out that she was a girl, we had come up with a few little names that we liked for either sex. But with Owen, we already knew what we were going to name him regardless of if he was a boy or a girl. In fact, Owen was one of the names I had picked since I was a teenager. It was when Michelle Branch, the singer, whenever she had her daughter, I don't know how old she is now, but whenever she had her daughter, I saw the birth announcement in a magazine and she named her daughter Owen. So I loved that, and I was pretty sure that if I had a girl at any point, I would be naming her Owen. So when it got to it, we found out we were having Taylor. I was sort of pushing for the name Owen. And we were kind of like, oh yeah, we might do it. And then at the last minute, Joe got a bit nervous, being that it is such a male name. He got a bit nervous right at the end and we decided to change it to Taylor. Now, Taylor is not named after Taylor Swift, like everyone seems to think she is, because I am a big fan of Taylor Swift. The reason I like the name Taylor actually went back to when I was a kid and I used to watch Bold and the Beautiful with my grandma, the soap opera. There's a character on there called Taylor, and I think the actress is absolutely stunning. I actually like her real name, the actress's real name as well. Her name's Hunter. But she just, to me, was always just so stunning. Joe actually heard it coming home. He was driving in the car and he heard there was a call in on a radio show and they called in and said, oh hi, my name's Taylor, and he really liked the way that sounded. So he sort of suggested it to me and I said, well yeah, I've always liked that name, so that's sort of where we came up with it. And her middle name, which is Elise, I think I was just sort of running through ideas in my head for what I wanted to give her as a middle name. We didn't use any family names for the middle names for our kids. There is a kind of connection in that my mum's middle name is Ellen and my mother-in-law's middle name is Elizabeth, so it's Elise. It's kind of like got the EL at the beginning. Also, Taylor has my same initials, which is nice, and that's sort of where it came from. We didn't go flat out and just give them like names after our family members, but I kind of like to throw that in there a little bit. So yeah, her name is Taylor. Then when we had Owen, before we even got pregnant, before we were even starting to try to conceive, he, again, I still love the name Owen. It was still one of my favourite names. And Joe's favourite name for a boy, or even, I think he liked it for a girl as well, but when we were talking about Taylor's name, his favourite name for a boy was Reese, which is not my favourite, but he really liked it. And he did also like it for a girl. Like that was kind of thrown around a little bit, not much, but just a little bit there. So I said to him, I think we were just playing out in the backyard and it sort of came to me before, like I said, we weren't even trying to have a baby at this point. We knew we were going to try for another one, but we hadn't even conceived at this point. I just said to him, well, how about if we have another baby, regardless of the gender, we'll just call it Owen Reese, because that will work for both. Obviously those are both more male names, but I do tend to like male names for girls. So he loved it as well, so we just kind of went with it. Obviously conceived and found out Owen was a boy, but either way he was going to be called Owen Reese. So I'm sometimes a little bit, not like disappointed, but I would have still liked to have had a girl and named her Owen. I just think that's really, really awesome for a girl, but I love it for a boy as well. The name Owen, like I said, we don't really do family names. The middle name Reese is spelled in the Welsh way, and Owen is actually a Welsh name as well, which my husband's family, they're all Welsh, so there was that kind of connection there. And then my father's name is Rowan, so Owen and Rowan obviously rhyme, so there was kind of a connection there as well. So that's sort of where we pulled his name into the family, and obviously with Taylor it was the middle name pretty much that it was pulled in. So those are the names I have given my children. So it's going to be 5 boys' names and 5 girls' names, names that I liked. We had a few of these on our short list, and then some of them sort of Joe did not like at all, but I really liked. So I'll go through them now. So the very first boy's name on my list, which was my actual #1 favourite boy's name for both times I was pregnant. Joe did not like it though. He thought it didn't really go with our surname. But that for a boy is Jesse. That was my #1 pick. I love the name Jesse for a boy. I think it is so cute, and I do feel like the way that our kids look, I mean obviously you can't tell your kids gonna look like before they're born, but you kind of have an inkling for what you and your partner look like. I kind of thought that our kid, if we had a son, he would look like a Jesse, I do think Owen could have had the name, although obviously I love his name now. I just really like that name. I think it's gorgeous. we actually have a little boy next door that his name is Jesse, and I think it's really cute. My top girl's name, so this is the name that we kind of, when we weren't pregnant with, I think we were still living at home, but we were together and we were, you know, engaged, and we were like, you know, every now and again kids' names come up, and we were watching Lost at the time. It was the first time we were watching Lost, and the character Kate on there, absolutely stunning, and I really just love the simplicity of her name, just Kate. So I really liked that. It's probably the only name that I have on my list. There's probably maybe 2 other ones, that is kind of a more common name, a name that you sort of hear more often, but I really just like the simplicity of it. It's not a frilly name, like I really liked it. And because our surname starts with a K, so it'd be like, we were gonna say, if we were to have a child named Kate, we would have named her Caitlin and then just called her Kate. Like she would just be known as Kate, but her full name would be Caitlin, and then Kate is our surname. Just sort of break it up a little bit. As it turned out, my sister got pregnant first, and she ended up naming her daughter Caitlin, which obviously I love that name. So that was kind of it for us, but she got in there first, so she got to have it. That was fine. And I think that was the only name that her and her husband could agree on as well when they found out she was a girl. So at least my niece is called Caitlin, but we don't call her Kate. We call her Katie sometimes, but usually just Caitlin. But yeah, that was my top name that before I even got pregnant that I was sort of thinking I would go for if it wasn't going to be Owen. Okay, so the next boy's name we have is Rafe, and this we used to like way back when we first got together, and we used to talk about, I think we watched Pearl Harbor or something, and Ben Affleck's character on that is called Rafe, and we both really liked it. I just thought it was really cool. Oh, I just thought of another one. Oh, I might mention that in a minute. Okay, so Rafe we just really liked, but then when it came to it, we'd already decided on Owen. The next girl's name is Jamie. I really like this. I don't think we ever put it on our list. I'm not sure. I think Joe liked it, but it wasn't like a big, oh my God, that is the most amazing name. I've always liked it. Whenever I meet someone called Jamie, I really like it. I think it's a pretty name. So it's actually a little bit later now. I've just started editing my video, and I cannot believe I completely forgot my other favourite boy's name. This was the name that I was really pushing for when I was pregnant with Taylor, before we found out she was a girl, obviously. It was Jessie was one of them, and Cass was the other one. I think it was C-A-S-S is how I was going to spell it. But I absolutely love that name for a boy. I thought it was so cool. Like, if you can imagine a little boy called Cass and then like an older guy called Cass, I just thought it was the coolest name ever. Not short for anything, although, you know, I would have done Casper or Cassius or something like that if, you know, that had got me the name in the end. Obviously Taylor wasn't a boy, so I had to give up on that dream. We'd already named Owen by the time we found out he was a boy. But Cass was like, it was Jessie and Cass. They were my 2 favourite names. Hands down, I loved it. I thought it was so cool. I still do think it's cool. If I got pregnant again and it was a boy, I would be like, guns blazing, we're gonna name him Cass. So I can't believe I forgot about that. I had to come back and sort of throw that in there because I thought it was really, really cool. Anyway, back to the rest of the video. Joe's also a school teacher, so we kind of need to go for a little bit more unique names just because, I mean, not that we did in the end, but he knows a lot of kids with a lot of names, so he can associate some names with some children that are a bit on the iffy side, if you know what I mean. My next girl's name I have here is Avery. Joe didn't really like Avery. I don't know why. I really like it. I think it's really pretty for a girl. I probably wouldn't end up naming my daughter Avery. I'm not sure why, but I really think it's a nice name. I've never met anyone called Avery. There's the character on Nashville who's a guy. His name's Avery, and that's the only one I've sort of, I think there was a character in a book I read once was called Avery, but anyway, I really like that name. I thought it was pretty. My next boy's name I have is actually Hartley. Now, I hadn't heard this name before ever until Taylor went and started kindy this year, and there's a little boy in her class named Hartley, and I don't really know him very well, but I really like his name. I think it is really, really cool. Obviously I don't have I'm not having another baby, so it's not going to come into play, but I think that is a really, really cool name, Hartley. Next on my girls list is the name Harper. I think we all at some point in our lives love the name Harper. I still really like it, but it has become quite popular these days, so it got into my shortlist. I'm not sure if Joe loved it 100%, but it didn't sort of obviously make the cut in the end, but I do really like it as a name in general. The next boy's name, I've actually crossed off the one that I had. I'm going to put in the one that I said earlier that I was reminded of when I spoke about Rafe, the name Saul. And now that I'm saying it, it reminds me of Breaking Bad and like Better Call Saul, so probably don't really like it as much anymore. I do like it, but when Joe and I went to Europe, we stayed in the UK with a couple of his cousins, And one of the cousins had a friend who used to come around every now and again, and his name was Sol, and he was just cool. And like we both, I remember one day we were, I think we were like hanging out, just the two of us, Joe and I was like, I really like the name Sol, it's really cool. And Joe was like, yeah, I quite like it too. So that probably, I think that got on the short list, but then my dad sort of pointed out that it could sort of rhyme with another word that is not so nice, and that he would get called out all the time when he was in high school. So that kind of got crossed off the list pretty quickly. But I think it is a really cool name, although now, like I said, I'm sort of associating it more with Better Call Saul. So maybe I wouldn't go for that now, but I really like the name anyway. And the last name on my list is probably, it's a name that was on my short list for Taylor, but I don't know that I would pick it now. I might do, I don't know, but it is the name Shay, and I like that again, like Kate, I like it for its simplicity. Again, I don't know if I'd use it now, but it was on our short list for when we had Taylor. And I think it's a nice name. I think, like I said, it's simple, it's feminine, but it's not like frilly, if you kind of know what I mean. Yeah, I just really like that name. Now, as a bonus, I'm going to tell you the names that I thought I would name my children when I was in high school. Back then, I had a bit more of a positive outlook on the idea of pregnancy. I thought I was going to be fine throughout my pregnancy and I'd have like 10 children. Didn't happen. Obviously, I do not enjoy pregnancy very much. It is not easy for me, so we stopped at 2. So, but these are the names that I was going to name my children when I was in high school. I wasn't going to have 10 children actually, but these are the names I really liked for kids. These would have been on my short list if I had got pregnant at 15 or whatever. For girls, I had Ryan, Morgan, Shane, and Christian for girls, because obviously I like boys' names for girls. I think I calmed down. I still like most of them actually. And did I say Mabel? And Mabel as well, which I don't know where that came from, but I remember really liking that name when I was a teenager. I quite like Christian still, and I still like Shane. Yeah, and Ryan. And for boys, I still liked the name Joshua back then, and the name Jaren. I remember when I was in school, I had a dream. And in this dream, I had gotten married and my husband's name was Chris. I didn't know a Chris at the time, so I don't know where this came from. But in the dream, my name was Chris. His name was Chris, sorry, and obviously my name was Taryn. And we had 2 kids, a girl and a boy. And we had named the girl Christian to sound like Chris, and we named the boy Jaren to sound like Taryn. So that is where those came from. And then I was obviously obsessed with it, because if I have a dream, I have to make it. Like I had a dream, I had a cat called Rosie once. So I went and bought a cat, and I called her Rosie, and we still have her to this day. So those are the names I liked in high school. Obviously things changed a little bit since then. But yeah, that was kind of fun. I enjoyed that. So I hope you did too. So if you want to, leave me a comment down below and let me know the names on your list. And I will talk to you next time. Bye guys.